Hey listeners, today we had on Ted Livingston, the founder and CEO of the Solana payments app, formerly known as Code, which as of today is now called Flipcash. Ted previously founded the messaging app Kik, remember that one? Before getting into crypto and becoming one of the ICO era companies to find itself stuck in the SEC's crosshairs. After that, Ted's venture into payments made him one of the earliest crypto projects to migrate over to Solana. In this one, we get into Code's brand refresh as Flipcash, the project's evolving view on stablecoins, and how to make it in the competitive world of crypto payments. Let's get into it. We're coming up on Permissionless 4, happening June 24th to 26th in Brooklyn, New York. It's the premier conference for crypto builders. Whether you're building on Solana, trading in the trenches, or just curious about DeFi, you won't want to miss it. Mert and I will also both be there. We'll be hosting a Lightspeed pod meetup at a bar, and I'd love to meet some of you in person. Ticket prices will go up, so snag yours early and use the code Lightspeed10 to get 10% off at checkout. Nothing said on Lightspeed is a recommendation to buy or sell any investments or products. This podcast is for informational purposes only, and the views expressed by anyone on the show are solely their opinions, not financial advice or necessarily the views of Blockworks. Our hosts, guests, and the Blockworks team may hold positions in the company's funds or projects discussed. Hello and welcome back to another episode of Lightspeed. I'm your host, Jack Kubanek, alongside Mert Mumtaz, and we are joined by Ted Livingston, the founder and CEO of what was Code, what is now Flipcash. Two very Canadian men joining me today, and also many congrats to Ted because he's now a three-timer joining the Triple Crown Club, his third time on Lightspeed. So Ted, thank you for coming back for a third time to join us.
Awesome to be here.
Oh, I should also mention that Ted is previously the founder and was the CEO of Kik Messenger, which is, I guess, where his crypto journey began. But the last couple times he's been on this show is because he's building a Solana payments startup. It was called Code. Today, when you hear this, they will have announced, I guess, the kind of reboot of this payments app to be Flipcash. There's a few notable differences. Instead of using the KIN crypto, it's going to use stablecoins, I believe USDC. But Ted, I guess I'll just throw it off to you to begin. I hear we have a bit of a demo cooked up maybe so people can see how exactly this digital cash app is meant to work.
Totally. Yeah. Let's do a demo in a second. And yeah, great to be back. So maybe just some context before we start. Like, we've been on the crypto journey a very long time. I first got into Bitcoin in 2011. Ethereum ICOs. We were the first project in the world to migrate to Solana in 2020. Anatoly took myself and my colleague Tanner through Solana on a whiteboard, I remember, back in 2019. So we've been in this a very long time, and we just think crypto is this amazing opportunity to sort of go over the top, just like we saw in messaging. And I have this big background in chat, built a chat app with hundreds of millions of users. And when the iPhone came out, when Android came out, you could go over the top, launch one app to the entire world at once. And so that's always the opportunity we've seen in crypto. It's like, instead of going sort of region by region with self-custodial crypto, you can roll out one app to the entire world all at the same time and go over the top. So that's what we've been working on. It's been a 10-year journey at this point, but I feel like a lot of that journey is culminating in this new app, Flipcash. Flipcash, very simply, is, inspired by this. We have all these digital payment apps today, and they're great, but, hey, what's your email? What's your phone number? Let me add you to the contacts. Or sometimes you just want to hand somebody a piece of paper. But, paper, you got to go get it. You got to hold it. Oh, sorry, do you have change? I don't have change. I got to hold change. So this has been our inspiration. We wanted to take this idea of physical cash, but just make it digital. So it's easy to hold, easy to use. You always have the right change. So that's what Flipcash is. That's what we're launching next week, or when this comes out today, June 10th. And it's to take physical cash and just make it digital. And so maybe I can give a demo of that. So if you download the app, you go through the onboarding, you land on a camera screen. And then it's super simple app. There's just two buttons, cash and balance. So if you want to pull out some cash, you just tap cash. You can use any currency you want. I'm going to use US dollars. And you just tap and you can pull out $5 of cash. And then anybody else who has the app, so Mert, if you got the app there.
Yeah, all right. So just to give some context for people who aren't maybe on Spotify or something. Ted literally has an app, and the app has a image of an actual dollar bill. Well, it's not a dollar bill, it's Flipcash version of dollar bill. And then he's basically just putting it on the screen. And then if you can see, I just have a little camera here. It actually shows myself because it's a little camera. And so Ted's going to put it up on the screen here, the QR code of the thing. And then I'm just going to point, and then now I have that cash. So it's basically like we just shook hands IRL, and then now we just took it back. So I'm in Istanbul, so he's being the Turkish ice cream man. And then I'm gonna, and then so that is extremely fast and super solid UX. And it's actually where the phrase, if you guys remember some of the Solana OGs, only possible on Solana, I had met with Tanner, who is also at Flipcash, and he was demoing me this, I believe maybe 2 years ago now, maybe 2.5. It's been a while. And he showed me this during Solana's earlier days. And we did this exact same demo. And the cash came into my app so fast that I was like, oh, wow, that's incredibly UX. That's only possible on Solana. And then after that episode, I was like, you know what? That's actually a pretty good moat. So just going to spam this on the internet forever until it became a meme. And so it actually started all from this interaction right here. So it's really cool to see. And like back then, one of the biggest criticisms of this interaction was that you couldn't use stables with it. And so people would be like, well, what if the value of the cash that I received goes up or down? Well, now you don't have that. Now it's USDC, correct?
Correct. Yeah, it's just blockchain dollars.
And when I just downloaded the app, it was also pretty great UX because you sign in or you download the app, and then you're able to just pay with, in my case, with Google Pay, and then you instantly have the dollars in USDC. So you on-ramp very seamlessly, and then you can just instantly start treating it as actual cash.
Yeah. Totally. So what Mert's getting at is, so we had an app similar to Flipcash a few years ago called Code that we worked on. It used a cryptocurrency under the hood called Kin. There's sort of a whole story behind Kin. But the punchline is we learned a ton about the tech, the interactions, the economics. And in this case, Mert, what you're flagging is the onboarding. So one of the biggest problems we saw with Code is people would get the app and they'd have like a $0 balance. It's like, well, what do I do? It's like, either I pay you back, but you're like, well, I'm not sure I want to get paid back with this. I just got it. Like, maybe I want you to Venmo me instead. And then you couldn't get any money into the app either. So with Flipcash, we changed that around. We force everybody to buy an account for $20. That's localized into every country's currency around the world. I think it's like 2,000 yen in Japan, for example, something like that. So we localize it. So you pay for an account, but then we give you a welcome bonus right away as well. So you pay $20, but then you get $20 of USDC right away. And so what it means is you can start using it right away. So if you want to show somebody this app, somebody takes you for coffee and they owe you money, right? Let's say you're the one who paid, they owe you money. Now you can say, hey, you want to see like a killer payments app, new payments app? Download Flipcash and you can pay me back right away because they're going to pay for an account. They're going to get that cash right away. They're going to be able to pay you right away. They're going to see the utility and the magic right away. Only possible on Solana. So it's super powerful.
Solana's been hot lately, but you can truly never fade Bitcoin. Are you a Solana user who wants to get exposure to Bitcoin? Mint zenBTC to get that Bitcoin exposure with yield and some rewards to boot. zenBTC is the first application launched on Zenrock, a permissionless decentralized custody network backed by One Roundtable partners, 10T, Maven 11, and Spartan. Live on Jupiter, Rock is the native token for transactions within the Zenrock ecosystem and secures Zenrock's decentralized custody network. zenBTC is secured by Zenrock Decentralized Custody, and it ensures that Bitcoin holders can securely and seamlessly earn yield on their favorite chain, like Solana. Visit zenbtc.io to learn about earning yield with Bitcoin on Solana. As always, investments in blockchain technology involve risk. Terms and conditions apply. Do your own research. Is that meant as like a go-to-market hack where it's like you download the app? Because I think one of the issues with crypto onboarding, I guess, is that you get a wallet and then there's no money in the wallet and it's a pain to fund the wallet. So is the idea that if you have to pay to get this app, then you have money, and so you'll start using it right away?
Yeah, I think it lowers the barrier substantially. So, if you don't want to if you want to get a payments app, but you don't want to put money in it, then why do you want to get it in the first place? And so, yeah, we think it's a great part of the experience. And in our testing, it's been amazing. People are like, click, 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 boom, and then pay me right away. And they're like, wow, like it's better than any payment app on the planet, crypto or otherwise.
And just to be like specific here, because there are many payment apps and many crypto payment apps even at this point in time. So is the biggest differentiator, you would say, for Flipcash just the UX of you can very quickly scan and give someone money, as opposed to, say, on Venmo, it's what's your Venmo account, and then I have to type in the username and then put in a thing I'm paying you for and all that?
Yeah, so I think Flipcash does a lot of things better than any other payment app in the world. So I think the onboarding is easier than any other payment app in the world. It's global. Like, so anybody in almost any country can get it anywhere in the world. There are zero fees. So, so the cost is better than any other payment app in the world. But, even despite all that stuff, because, you hear this idea of like, oh, it's Venmo, but global. And we think that's great. But most people aren't sending money around the world. They're using it domestically in their own countries with family and friends. And so we really wanted to find a pain point and a use case and a product that existing payment apps couldn't do. And the big one that stood out to us is like, yeah, Venmo is great and Cash App is great. Yet you still always have times in your life where you're like, oh, shoot, sorry, I don't have any cash. Like I go stay in a hotel and I'm like, oh, shoot, I don't have any cash. I go to get my car from the parking attendant. I'm like, oh, shoot, I don't have any cash. I'm at a restaurant. I'm like, oh, shoot, if I get cash, I just leave it on the table and walk out. So we think cash is just this amazing opportunity, like this amazing product. This piece of paper is an amazing product. But there are drawbacks too. You got to deal with change. Who wants to deal with change? You got to hold in your wallet. You got to go to the ATM and get it. So could we bring physical cash into the digital era? And if so, not only would that be a great experience, but it'd be something that not only can no other crypto app do, but no other mainstream payment app period can do. And we think that's super powerful.
Not to mention, Ted, that it costs more money to manufacture coins in the US now than what the coins are worth. I mean, that's why they're phasing out the penny, is the penny costs like 3 cents to make, and it's worth 1 cent, obviously. And I think it's the same for dimes or something like this. So
if I want to tip Mert a penny, so Mert, here you go, big guy. So you can send cash. This obviously works better in person. We don't have screens and cameras and all this. But if it were just me and Mert and we were doing a demo here, I just send it to him. So you can see here, there's the send button. So I'm going to hit the send button.
Oh, okay.
That turns it into a link, and then a self-custodial link. I'm going to send it to Mert on Signal.
Got it.
And boom, he's got the penny. No fees. So talk about penny. You can even do a penny. And if you held that up longer, I could grab it back. So you can.
Too late.
You can hand it to your person. You can hand it to them over Zoom. But you can also like just send it too. And it's cool because, again, it's no email addresses, no phone numbers, no accounts, just cash. Like I can send that link through any app I want. I could post it to X and first come, first serve. Maybe I'll do that on the launch day, post $100 to X and see who gets it first. So it's just like cash.
I'm always very interested in ideas like this where it seems like the market should have or must have figured everything out by now, which is payments. But you can do something as simple as just use the camera to point it at a dollar bill, and then that dollar bill, in this case, literally becomes reality, and then you have it instantly. And what's super interesting here is like the speed at which you get the money after just looking at it is on the order of microseconds. Like there's zero delay. It's instant, which is like very hard to do on an engineering level. I actually have no idea how you guys do that, but that is very difficult. And then even with the link, because Ted just sends to me on Signal, and you click the link, and there is no like 2-second lag or anything. It's instant. So that's super important for when you're trying to mimic, because obviously if I take out my wallet and then hand somebody the cash, that's instant, right? There's no weird digital lag. And you guys have reduced the latency to such an extent where that's also the case here. And I mean, like, I guess once people get this app, right? And so I guess that'll be a challenge, which is like, okay, how do we get more people to download this app? In that case, this seems like, to me at least, the best payments experience that I've seen, because now it's in stables, and then I'm sure there'll be more things coming to it. So I'm also seeing, maybe let me look at the withdraw address thing. So it seems like you can also just withdraw to any address that you want as well. So like, I think that's pretty insane. I think this will be very useful at something like Breakpoint, where you can just pay people right away.
Totally. Well, and you flag a good thing there with withdraw. This is something else that's quite different than code. So now with withdraw, because it's USDC, that's supported by pretty much every exchange in the world and pretty much every country in the world. But again, just like further simplifying it, users don't have like other tokens, and we don't want this idea of gas and extra fees. So if you want to withdraw, if it's to an initialized account, you're good to go, no fees. But if it's an uninitialized account, let's say on Coinbase, they don't initialize your USDC account, so somebody's got to pay that fee. We can't just cover the fee ourselves, because somebody could DDoS us through that, because it's pretty expensive. It's about 31 cents or something like that to initialize a rent fee. So we'll actually let the user pay that fee in USDC. So we say, hey, you're trying to withdraw $100. It looks like it's to a non-initialized account. So do you want to pay a 50-cent fee and withdraw $99.50? You click yes, boom, it's like there instantly, pretty much. So like all the technology and work, an incredible team behind the hood to make this happen. Like, when you look at cash, you're like, oh, it's so simple. But the actual requirements of cash, it's instant, it's guaranteed, it's global, it's very, no onboarding it's a very high bar. And it's been, literally a 10-year journey to get the tech stack to a point where we can support the experience.
Can you maybe say a bit about the tech stack? Like, to the extent, obviously, as CEOs, we get a little removed from the metal, but like, how does it actually work at a very high level? I don't care about the details.
At a minimum, I can give you some of the pieces and a bit of the journey, right? So like, I started my crypto journey from a building point of view on Ethereum, right? That was just sort of the least bad option at the time, 2017, 2016 when we started. But it was always clear it wasn't going to work, right? It was a way to get in the game, get started, but we'd have to figure it out in market. Way too slow, way too expensive. We then moved to Stellar, that up the scale, up the speed. We then rolled our own version of Stellar. But it wasn't really until we found Solana, we met Anatoly, we're like, oh my goodness, this could be it. And so that was like the first big breakthrough on the infrastructure side, was going all in on Solana when everybody else thought we were crazy. Like, people literally be like, so what? I haven't even heard of that one. Why aren't you doing like Algorand or like, some other blockchain? So we were literally the first project in the world to migrate to Solana. We've been on Solana before anybody else in terms of projects moving to it. So that was the first big piece. Okay. So Solana, check. Now it's like big scale, it's inexpensive, and it's fast. The challenge we had with Solana was, even though it's fast, sometimes it can be a bit slow. And so, you think of cash, right? Like, I have it, you have it. It needs to be instant and guaranteed. It's not like, oh, I had it, you have it. Oh, whoops, sorry, failed transaction. Like, let's try that again. And it still needs to be self-custodial. So a big piece of the puzzle we worked on is we built a layer 2 on top of Solana. Initially, that was just about doing fast, guaranteed, and self-custodial. But the thing it evolved to is also inexpensive. When we started, the price of Sol was $1 a token. So it's gone up, today, whatever it is, 150 times that. And so what that means is rent fees have gone up 150 times. So before, a new account, that costs us a third of a penny or a quarter of a penny, no problem. Well, now it's 31 cents. It's starting to become meaningful. So we've built a whole, what we call the virtual machine, on top of Solana. So we've basically taken the Solana as the core sort of processor and built like a virtual machine with virtual accounts. You can think of it almost as like compressed NFTs, but unlike compressed NFTs, it has to be like usable in real time, high speed, guaranteed, and yet still self-custodial. We can never freeze or take your funds, never have the ability to freeze or take your funds. And so that is like an incredible piece of technology. It's all open source, MIT license. Anybody can go check it out. And so that was the real breakthrough. And that, so code did not run on the virtual machine, but Flipcash does. And so it's that tech stack, Solana at the base, and then the virtual machine above, and then the Flipcash app on top that lets us provide this cash-like experience.
Yeah, you guys, for maybe the developers listening, you guys do have a very strong engineering team. I know this personally just because you guys are a customer, but also you guys release a lot of open source stuff, which I believe you had like the time lock program, which is something like a state channel, where like I think that's probably how you get the instantaneous. And actually, I remember back in the day, because you guys came so early, back in the day during the periods where Solana would go down, which was like relatively frequently, I remember you guys actually made it resilient to outages. And I think you even started testing it such that, okay, the next time Solana goes down, we're going to try transferring cash to see if it works. And it actually did. So it was literally resilient to outages. So the UX is extremely good, but then also the engineering to make that happen is like very, very non-trivial. In fact, me and Tola used to say like, oh, well, and perhaps we were like a little rude with this, but we were like, well, your app should work in the case of an outage. Like, why isn't it working? And then you guys are like, okay, yeah, ours actually does. And I think you guys were like the only one.
Yeah, we liked when there were a few outages because it would highlight how good the tech stack was. Because to your point, there's this whole layer 2 state channel underneath. It's self-custodial, but still guaranteed. And it can sort of queue up transactions while the L1 is down and then writes everything back to the L1, as L2s do. So when there were outages, we're glad that the outages are in the past, but it would highlight just how different the tech stack is in a very concrete way. The
one other thing that I'm curious on is you guys also had some sort of privacy features in the past. Did that carry over? Like, how are you thinking about that in general?
So we think privacy is super important. The privacy in Flipcash is different than the privacy in code. So in code, all the transactions were being written raw on the blockchain, so you could sort of easily see what was going on. And so we added this sort of whole mixing layer to the app. It made the infrastructure, though, quite complicated. So in Flipcash, it's different because now all these transactions aren't happening on the raw L1. They're happening in the virtual machine, which is like a custom program, all open source, but in a custom program. So you can't just go look at what's happening. And so that gives a good level of privacy to transactions, but it is ultimately could be cracked by somebody who's like very motivated, talented, etc. So the privacy in Flipcash is different. It's all obfuscated inside the virtual machine. It's quite good, but it's something we want to get better and better over time because it's not, perfectly secure.
Got it. Jack, were you going to say something?
Yeah, I think the one of the benefits I'll think about from time to time with cash is just the privacy preserving aspect. And I think that this is going to become a political issue shortly, actually, because so I live in New York City. They have, in the subway stations, they've installed tap to pay at all of the subway turnstiles, and they're phasing out Metro cards, which I'm a Metro card user. And like I think you can still pay for the Omni card is what it's called in cash, but basically like you're seeing this in public transit in a lot of places. It's simpler to just accept only cards, but there's no privacy with cards. Cash is in a sense private because when you hand it to someone, there's no like record that it came from you. So it's cool to see that you're preserving that ethos that I think is the in a world that's maybe moving past cash in some ways. That's one of the important legacies of it is that it is fully private.
Totally. And I think there's a lot of, real reasons to phase out cash because people are using it less and less. It's annoying, right? To like hold it, have change, deal with change. Like, oh gosh, I don't want to deal with this. But it means we're losing a lot of these core experiences, whether that's tipping or privacy or whatever it might be. And, we joke, we make cash great again. Let's go back to cash, but let's keep all the things that were good, but then get rid of the things that were bad. And that's what we think we've really done with Flipcash. But all that said, I think we can still, one of our values is work hard to find the win-win. We get that physical cash can be used for bad things, right? Like that's obviously true too. And I have a lot of experience with these tricky problems with Kik back in the day, which was very popular because it was like an anonymous messenger. And so something we're doing in Flipcash, which we, don't have to from a legal point of view, but choose to from like a societal point of view is, we're limiting the amount you can hand out at one time and the amount you can hand out in one day. So in the US, for example, you can't hand somebody more than $250 cash. You can't hand out more than $1,000 a day. Again, that's not something we're like legally required to do. That's just something we're choosing to do. We'll see how that goes over time. Maybe we'll increase the limits if you KYC. We don't want to KYC, obviously, for a whole bunch of reasons, but we do want this to be a win for society. Yes, if you're using it for good reasons with good intent, you should have privacy, simplicity, all these things. But also, we don't want to make it, a tool to conduct nefarious things either.
Totally, yeah. And I should add on the Kik point, I'm mildly starstruck because I don't think everyone, all American children used Kik, but in my middle school, Kik was how I interacted with my crushes after school every day. So
Kick me.
Kik on the iPod Touch was huge for me back in the day. So yeah, I was definitely an early user.
What's your Kik?
Exactly. I feel like not every it was obviously a huge app, but I'll talk to some other like kids my age that grew up in America, and they'll be like, "Oh, I don't know about Kik," but where I lived, that was how we interacted. But
at one point, 40% of all teenagers in the U.S. were active on Kik.
Okay.
Roughly
nearly a majority.
One out of two.
Yeah.
50-50.
So I do want to ask a little more about some like Kik stuff later, but first, I'm curious to hear about the transition to stablecoins. So Code, the earlier app, used Kin, which was the kind of Kik ICO token. And you came on this show, Ted, about a year and a half ago and said, I quote, "We are less and less convinced that stablecoins are the answer." So what changed your mind, basically? Why have you decided that you want to make use of USDC under the hood?
Great question. So it all starts for me, like where this journey begins, which is for me is with Bitcoin. I first discovered Bitcoin in 2011. And I just thought it was like this amazing idea that could bring it sounds silly, like world peace, and why is because so much of like the conflict in human history and the challenges in human history is when we move to fiat money. As soon as you get to fiat money, then you can just print more and more and more and more until it collapses. And this is, the Ray Dalio book is fantastic on that. It's just sort of the inevitable end of the cycle and then it collapses and there's a new one. And so with Bitcoin, for the first time ever, we could have something with the hard properties of gold. So it's hard, nobody can create more, there will only be so much. And yet it's digital, so it's easy to use and it can move around the world. And that was like this mind-blowing moment of like hard money that's digital. Okay. So that's been a big part of my mission. Like, let's get the world on hard money. Obviously, stablecoins are not hard money, but the thing that we've come around to is the world operates in fiat today. And so, you can't just push your ideals on people. You got to meet people where they are. And where people are is they're operating fiat. Fiat's great. So let's give them fiat. And now there's just more and more on-ramps, more and more liquidity, more and more trust. So let's give people an amazing stablecoin experience. And then over time, we can revisit hard money. One of the cool just sort of Easter eggs in Flipcash, Mert, you'll see this. If you pull out some cash, Mert.
Yep.
And then there's some notches along the top and the bottom. So there's 8 notches and then 31 notches at the top and then 2 notches and then 8 notches at the bottom. Or sorry, 10, 31, 2, 8. Okay. That is a date. Do you know what that date is? 10/31/2008.
Oh, I see. 10/21/2008.
10/31/2008.
Okay. Bitcoin.
Bitcoin Genesis block.
That's when the Bitcoin white paper was published.
White paper.
Right.
Because
I think you can't. It's hard to see, but you can kind of see the notches here.
Yeah, I should show there. Yeah, you got the notches at the top and the notches at the bottom, and that's sort of our. We want people to know that this vision, the Satoshi vision, is very important to us. We think it will be an amazing thing for humanity to move to hard money, but that's also digital. And so we do have ideas and plans and thoughts about how we can be part of that, but while also giving people choice. You want a great fiat experience, we offer that. It's all in US dollars. You can send in any currency you want. It all exchanges it. Maybe we should show a quick demo of that because that's sort of cool as well. So we'll start.
Man, you guys have like literally every single currency I've ever known. It's like an underrated aspect of this, but I mean, there's like Afghan, Afghani, Albanian lek, Aruban florin. Like it's literally all currencies ever. Pretty cool.
Yeah. So what we're saying is if you go to pull out some cash here and you tap the flag, you can like scroll through any currency you want. And it will convert in real time with no fees and no spread. So here I'll pick the Croatian kuna, right? So I'm going to send
great currency.
Send 10 Croatian kuna. I'll send it through Signal again just to make it easy. So if you click that MERT,
it's a very income generating episode for me. Oh, got it.
And then boom, see, it gets the corona, and it's converting in real time. So there's no exchange fees, no exchange spread, nothing. So you're traveling around Europe with your friends, or Southeast Asia. You split the meal, like whatever country you're in, you can just boom, pay back. It's like super simple.
Solana's been hot lately, but you can truly never fade Bitcoin. Are you a Solana user who wants to get exposure to Bitcoin? Mint zenBTC to get that Bitcoin exposure with yield and some rewards to boot. zenBTC is the first application launched on Zenrock, a permissionless decentralized custody network backed by One Roundtable partners, 10T, Maven 11, and Spartan. Live on Jupiter, ROC is the native token for transactions within the Zenrock ecosystem and secures Zenrock's decentralized custody network. zenBTC is secured by Zenrock Decentralized Custody, and it ensures that Bitcoin holders can securely and seamlessly earn yield on their favorite chain, like Solana. Visit zenbtc.io to learn about earning yield with Bitcoin on Solana. As always, investments in blockchain technology involve risk. Terms and conditions apply. Do your own research. This man has paid his compliance costs. I did want to ask Ted on that last point. How do you balance, I guess, the ruthless pursuit of PMF that you need to be a tech founder with some of the more, what's the term I'm looking for? Utopian, whatever, more ideological ethos of Bitcoin? Because I think that as time has gone by, a lot of the things that have maybe found PMF in crypto aren't quite as ideological or whatever. And some of the things that never quite took off are more aligned with that initial cypherpunk ethos. And that's not a perfect framing, but I'm just curious how you balance those two sides.
So I'll show you this. This actually might be one of the best products we've built over the last 15 years, which is our values. Okay. Smart, trustworthy, get stuff done. This is not like integrity or whatever. Like the key is we have these like sayings underneath each of them. And you'll hear these all the time. We use these all the time. It's just like an operating system for how to work together. But one of them here you see is work hard to find the win-win under trustworthy. This is like one of our most important values, is because to your point, like sometimes other projects might, be okay with win-loses. Maybe it's a win for them. They make a bunch of money, but it's a lose because everybody else loses a bunch of money. Or on the other side, maybe win-lose. Like maybe there's something very idealistic, but nobody adopts it. So who cares? We got into crypto to find the win-win. how can we use this technology to build a great business, but then also build this amazing thing for humankind? And so that, that's why it's work hard to find the win-win. Like, it has been an incredibly difficult journey, launching Kin, going through blockchain migrations, fighting the SEC, going through that whole gauntlet, Kin became a bit of a pariah in the industry, like all the challenges there. Like, it's been an incredibly challenging journey, building all the tech, being early to Solana. But we are willing to endure the difficulty because we want to find a win-win. We want to show the world that this technology can be amazing, but it can also enable great things for humankind beyond speculation. And so it's just sort of part of our core values.
Yeah. I think, actually, I just went to, my girlfriend's coming over at the airport. So I went to go get flowers from a random Turkish guy. And I was like, can I pay with like card? And he's like, oh, no, there's commission here. We can't do that. I'll come with you to the ATM to take out some cash. And I was like, oh, Jesus Christ. And like, it's, if you can get to the step where people actually just download this app and you just hand them that cash, that's like extremely, it's also like just a completely unmet need. Like, even with Venmo, it's super localized. Like, actually, we're Canadian, unfortunately. You can't use Venmo in Canada, for example, right? In fact, I don't even know what you can use in Canada. I think you can use like e-transfer, which is email cash, right? So to be clear for the audience, in Canada, you literally have to email people money. And then you have to log into your bank to then say accept and then choose a bank account. And like, that's the level we're at today.
You have to create a secret question with a secret password and then communicate the password out of band.
Even with Venmo, it's like, well, you got to download the app, but then you got to get the username. Or if it's just with Stables, you got to get their address, which is like a ridiculous address. So the camera form factor is like, I've talked about it like 30 times at this point, but like, it's just, I'm very surprised we've never seen it. And I think it's like the best way I've seen a QR code actually executed. And so like, I'm super bullish on that.
Let me say two things on that, Mert, quickly. Because I think, why haven't we seen it? So like, we've already covered, the tech stack to make that work is like profound, but also to make it self-custodial is non-trivial. Right? Because usually when you give somebody money, you scan them, right? You're scanning the address, getting the address out of band and sending it. Whereas here, you're scanning me. It's the other way around to grab the cash. How do you make that self-custodial? How do I know to send your phone the money in a trustless way? And that's where this code actually has a signed key. So we're transferring a signed key out of band so that when you come to me, you're like, listen, I saw the code that your phone generated on device, and it's signed so that we, Flipcash, in between, we can't modify that. So there's a ton of technology even to do it this way to make it self-custodial. And then I'll say one other thing is, again, just how early we've been doing this. We actually filed a patent for digital paper cash. It was cryptocurrency transactions with synchronized images, right? The image represents the money moving. We actually filed a patent for that in December 2020. That's how long we've been working on this. And that's a granted patent now too. So it's just sort of like, it's just taken a very long time to be able to deliver this experience.
Just as another point on this, you guys also had like a tip cards function, if I remember correctly, where like, if you're like a street artist or something, you can just have this image thing and then you could just basically point at that and then just like give them cash, tip them. Is that still something you guys have? Like, is that, and maybe that's another question into like the future direction of this, but like, how did that work out?
So yeah, we had this functionality called tip cards in code where you could like register your X identity and then anybody could like tip your X identity. You could print out a code, anybody could scan it, say I want to tip you $2, boom, swipe, and you get it just like cash. That's not something we have in Flipcash at launch. We actually have a few ways we want to tweak that to make it even better. But, we think about the hotel use case, right? Like, it's not always like I hand you cash and we're done. It's sometimes like I want to leave cash on the table. So what's the digital equivalent of leaving cash on the table and then you pick it up off the table after when somebody else comes in? You're a street performer. You don't want to have to stop, pull out your phone, grab the cash. So we have some ideas around that that we think will be quite magical as well.
What are the ideas?
I'll have to come back a fourth time.
Something else, I guess, or like a feature that you've talked about in the past, I wanted to ask about that I personally am more excited about than a lot of people, I think, is micropayments. This is a very old idea in crypto, one of these things crypto could uniquely enable. And, so I'm a reporter, and I think one of the ways you really talked about micropayments was for articles. And this is something that just for a long time, I feel like makes so much sense. When The Atlantic had this piece a couple months ago about the Signal Gate and the Trump administration adding a reporter to a Signal group chat, so many people probably just 10-foot whatever whatever the way to bypass the paywall on that article. But if they had micropayments, tons of people would pay $1 to read that article. It was a crazy article. So I think it's actually like print media has terrible financial prospects right now, and it's very difficult to monetize. So this is something that's very near and dear to my heart, but it seems like hasn't worked or taken off in any real way yet. So can you just walk me through what the learnings were in trying to build that out and how you think about it today?
Totally. No, I'm totally with you on that. So just for context, with Code, we built a whole micropayments platform. Anybody could integrate it. It was totally open. You can charge for content. The experience was super slick, magical, just like you're seeing here. And we would take a 1 penny fee per payment. So, you could charge 5 cents and get the net of 4 cents. So it was like very open, very inexpensive, very easy to integrate, and very magical and slick. We learned a ton from that. For one thing we learned is like people would love to get US dollars instead of some free floating cryptocurrency that they're trying to manage the FX on. So we've solved that now. So that's great. But one of the things we learned as well is when you go to pay for things, it's not so much the cost. Like obviously the cost matters, but when it comes to an article, like a huge part is the friction. So, you think of The Atlantic, they might even like, if I could literally like throw a $5 bill at the screen and the article would unlock, I might do that. But when they ask me, create an account, put in your credit card, sign up now, I know I'm committing myself to like a future of misery where they're going to keep billing me. They're going to send me promo emails. I'm going to try to cancel. Oh, you want to cancel? You got to call in. You call in like, half an hour on the phone. They're like, So it's not just that you're paying the money. It's like you're creating a relationship with like a bad ex. Basically, you're guaranteeing like a terrible ex for the rest of your life. And so maybe what's exciting to me is not only can we offer that super slick experience like we had with Code, now running on US dollars, but the criticism we hear is something like, well, I'd way rather have one monthly subscriber than 100 people paying me 25 cents once. Maybe we experiment with paying $5 once. Like maybe some people would actually say, you know what? Like, because if it's just so easy to do, there's no relationship. It's just cash. Screw it. Here's the $5. I want to read it. I don't have time to like find a way around this wall. Maybe you could actually get real sizable revenue on a one-off basis.
That's interesting. So maybe like micropayments are too micro. Like you shouldn't be thinking about the 25 cents. You should be thinking about $5. And maybe some people will pay that.
That's the question. If you could like blink your eyes and it would just come out of your bank account in a hypothetical world, what would that do to the conversion rate?
Yeah, I mean, increase it, right?
Yeah, I think potentially drastically versus a ton of time and a bad ex for the rest of your life.
Yeah, and I think you need people who want to see micropayments happen first. And like you said, I think some of the calculus has just been this isn't like really a profitable use of our time. We can just do the subscription model. I think ad revenue kind of dying for news websites could be the existential thing, or even like AI really aggregating a lot of news could turn into like the existential thing that turns people to micropayments. But I've been a believer for a long time, and I just hope, I think it'll take like one real breakout success, and then maybe more people will be interested in it.
What is what are your future plans with this entire concept of Flipcash? Because I believe you guys also had was it Flip Chat? And so you guys are obviously experimenting. You're in the arena, trying a bunch of stuff. What is the current future trajectory? Like, what are some milestones you're trying to hit, and what are the markets you want to break into?
So our whole goal right now is to find that initial wedge of adoption and retention, right? It's one thing to come out with an app and get some hype and people download it. They say it's really cool, but then they stop using it, right? We need an app that comes out, gets some hype, but then some group within that starts using it on a repeated basis. So that's step one. That's where we would greatly appreciate the help of everybody in the Solana community. You know, if you want to show somebody what's only possible on Solana, I guarantee you this is the app to show them. Like, it will blow their mind. They'll be like, wow, that is very cool. So show as many people as you can, get them to download the app, play with the app with them. But then we're looking for insight into which cohorts of users find particular value in this. Like, if somebody, you know, messaged me on X, posted at me on X and was like, oh my gosh, Ted, like all the valet drivers in LA are using this right now. That would be super helpful, right? Because then now that's like a beachhead that we can build off of. You know, just like, you know, Facebook in the early days, they had that beachhead of Harvard. They got everybody using it at Harvard and they built off that. So that's what we're looking for right now, the beachhead. That's what we would hugely appreciate help from the Solana community, is helping us find that beachhead. And then from there, like, honestly, like, anything is possible. This is like the power of the tech we've built. It's self-custodial, so it's global. And we can move very fast and build very compelling things very easily. It's like the early days of Kik, right? Kik went 0 to 1 million users in 15 days in 2010, 15 years ago coming up, okay? And it had no profile pictures, no ability to send images, no ability to send videos, no ability to do group chat. Like, you couldn't do anything with it. But it found that initial beachhead, and then we could build on all those features, and, you know, the rest is history. So I think that's going to be the same thing with Flipcash. We find that initial beachhead, and then once we have that, we can start building for them. And, you know, we can build anything. We have the technology, we have the user experience, we have the product ability, and we have the foundation, because we can build new features and roll them out globally.
I'm curious to hear, Ted, switching gears a little bit, just what's been your reaction or feelings with the changing regulatory environment in the US? It feels like a lot more things like payments are a lot more possible now than they were under, you know, prior administrations. And, you know, Kik faced this lengthy and expensive SEC lawsuit, and I think really probably set back a lot of your crypto ambitions by a number of years, and that was probably really hard. So is it this feeling of like, dang, I was too early to the IC? I mean, Pump Fun, as we did an episode that came out today, is now kind of doing an ICO, it seems like. So is it just frustration? Like, man, I was early to this, or I don't know. How does all that kind of make you feel?
I'm going to refer back to the values. Okay. So here, right? Smart, trustworthy, get stuff done. The very last value, embrace the bleeding edge. Okay. Mert's looking close. Trust me, Mert, it says embrace the bleeding edge there. We love the bleeding edge. I love the bleeding edge, right? I love getting to things early, building things early, seeing the future early. But if you're going to be on the bleeding edge, there's going to be challenges and changes. It just comes with the territory, right? When Kik went viral in 2010, 0 to 1 million users in 15 days, 1 million to 2 million users in 7 days, like fastest growing thing in human history up to that point in time. Like, literally, like nothing had spread faster. And then Kik up to that point in human history. Then what happened is we threatened BlackBerry at the time, you know, before iPhone and Android, there were Blackberries. It was a popular platform at the time. And they sued us for patent infringement and tried to destroy us. You know, they took us off their platform. They turned off push notifications. And at the time, you know, imagine WhatsApp today. You can't talk to people on Android anymore. You're like, okay, let's switch messengers. It was like devastating. We lost 99% of our users over the next 3 weeks. So like the graph was like this, the best graph in human history, like straight down to zero and then along the floor. And that was devastating, but some great investors still took a bet on us. And then over time, we built it back up to where 4 years later, Kik was once again the number one free social app in the US, back in the charts. Like if you looked at the app store charts, it's like up to number one, down like off the chart, and then build back up. And I sort of feel there's a similar journey with crypto, right? We were the first Web2 company to launch our own cryptocurrency. That's why everybody was very excited about it. And not because it was like the cool thing to do. Like actually at the time was very contrarian to do. We did it because we believed in what it could unlock. But again, once again, it's like, oh, wow, that's a big idea. You guys are first, crush them. And again, we sort of went through this gauntlet, went up, we're on flying high and then almost like a full reset. And so I feel like we're in that building back up phase. And it's exciting because I still feel like the playing field is wide open. And now there's like a lot of regulatory support for what we're doing. And I think that makes a ton of sense and is super exciting.
So just to be clear, by the way, for the audience, for me to show my bags, that is yet another. So Kik was literally the number one app in the USA and one of the fastest growing in history. And they're on Solana. So just FYI, to give you an idea of the talent here.
Yeah, so we would love like for everybody to try it out, show it to family and friends, get that wow factor. I feel like crypto, you tell your friends and family you're in crypto and they go, oh, you're one of those. And I'm just like, what do you mean I'm one of those? Like, I'm trying to do something good here for the world. But it's just like, the reputation of the industry has been challenging, And so what is exciting about this is really for one of the first times ever, you can show something, no, I believe in crypto. Crypto is going to change the world. Let me show you. And at the end, they'll go, I get it now. Okay. So I think it's a very powerful tool of crypto broadly, but I think it's a very powerful tool for Solana specifically. We could only build this app on Solana. We've been on Solana since literally day one. Like Solana is amazing. Crypto is amazing. And now you have a tool to show them. So go to flipcash.com, download the app. You'll get your $20 right away or whatever country you're in. But then also like get your friends and family to download it. Pay them $20 cash if you have to just try out the experience with you. And, the reward for that will be, for the first time, they'll be like, Ted, I get it. This is pretty cool. And so anything you can do to try it out, share your feedback with us on X. I'm at Ted_Livingston. Would be super appreciated.
Yeah, and you can all send me money if you just want to see how the app works. Would love to have you on board that way.
So Jack, are you going to get a secret?
I don't know. I think I should.
I will get like 3. So yeah, send me all your money.
I'll take Mert's bonus secret. Yeah.
Well, we found out Jack doesn't have a smartphone, so we got to get you a smartphone, Jack, and then we're gonna.
That's step one.
We're gonna bring you. You've been waiting for the digital cash era, so we're ready. We're ready.
Exactly. This is the thing holding me back. No, but Ted, it's been a lot of fun. Thank you so much for coming on the show. Congrats on surviving the gauntlet of your 3rd episode, and best of luck with the launch of Flipcash.
Awesome. Thanks so much, guys.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone, for listening. Please 5-star wherever you get your podcasts. If you've enjoyed this episode, please share it with a friend, and we will see you all again very, very soon.